Hey, it's your pal Mike Squires in the Couchers Podcast, episode number 203. 203. And my guest, Lucianna Padmore, amazing drummer from New York, actively gigging. Of course, COVID's got everyone down, but she's staying very busy, recording new music of her own. She recently appeared in Hocus Pocus by Focus for a Couchers video and absolutely just shredded your face off. If you haven't seen it, that's the only reason you still have a face, because she killed it. And now it's dead. Now you can't even play that song anymore because of her. Sorry. I had a great time talking with Lucy. She's got a great story. She went to the Fame School. That blew my mind. If you're young, nobody young listens to this. Who am I kidding? Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. It was great. Check the show notes here, and I will hopefully have a link to a show that she is streaming, that she's performing and streaming the week that this podcast comes out. If you are listening now, it is mid-December 2021. I don't know how far into the future this is going to exist, but that's what it is right now, I think, as far as you know. Okay. Listen, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. 2021 has been amazing for the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting on Patreon. If if you would like to support Couch Riffs, we would love to have your support. It is what makes this happen. It's how the videos get made. It's how all of the services that we use get paid for. And your support is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. Also, thank you for just listening, sharing, commenting. Keep the conversation rolling, sending messages, and introducing me to folks to interview. All that stuff. I really appreciate it. So you guys are great. I appreciate you. I'd also like to thank Variety Coffee Roasters in Brooklyn, New York. Now, Variety Coffee Roasters, they make the coffee that I drink every single morning. That is the only place where you can get a Couchers coffee mug. Pa-da! Get over there to varietycoffeeroasters.com and you'll find them. They're $10 each. Or add that to your shopping cart. Buy 2 bags of coffee, and at checkout, use the code CouchRiffs, all one word, and you get your mug for free. That's pretty sweet. While you're there, check out their subscription service. They'll ask you a few questions about how you're going to prep your coffee, what you're into, how frequently you want it, and then boom, it just happens, shows up. That's sweet. You never have to think about it. You're never going to run out of coffee, and that's a terrible feeling. So go give it a look and follow them on social media at Variety Coffee. Thank you guys. You're great. Now, don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not that hard if you're just not a fucking asshole. A little countdown. Now we're recording. It's just like that. Easy peasy.
Like my couch riff strip.
Where on earth can a person come up with something like that? Looking good.
Thank you. Same here. Good to see you.
On that note, thank you again for being in that video.
Yeah, definitely.
For people who are jumping in right now, Lucy played on Hocus Pocus by Focus and crushed it. Crushed it. Sporting a Testament shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you a metal fan?
I'm an Alex Skolnick fan. That's a buddy of mine. So yeah,
he's great.
He's a bad dude.
Have you played with Alex?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to play in a group. We used to play in school together, and we used to play in a group together for a little while. So yeah, for quite a while.
Wait a minute. Did you say in school?
Yeah, we went to college.
What school?
We went to the new school.
All right, I guess we're getting right into it. So, all right. Are you from New York?
Yes, I'm from the Bronx. Mhm.
Was it hard to be I mean, when I moved to the city, I immediately got the smackdown because I had a fourth floor walk up and I
Okay.
showed up with an SVT. I moved to town with an SVT
Yeah, that
like a
sounds right.
dummy.
Nah, that's the love right there. You can't you can't stop that. You gotta do what you gotta do and learn
Right.
what you could also do after a point in time. So yeah, yeah, that's love. That's
I
definitely love.
quickly got a storage space and a small amp and
Good,
a
good for you. You learn lessons quickly. I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So wow.
How difficult was it to be a young student drummer and
Mm,
be in the city?
mm, I'm from the city, so it was just kind of like you do what you have to do. You know, if it, I went, I didn't. I'm from the Bronx, but I only went to schools in the Bronx from like grade school to like junior high, and then once I went to high school, I went to Manhattan. So I was used to getting on the train and taking the hour ride and everything you did in the city and then taking the hour ride back home. So
Right.
that kind of after a while it's relative. It gets a little easier when you get older and you can drive. Then you gotta finagle borrowing a car from your parents or something until you get your own and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much at one point when I was quite a bit younger, before I had a permit and not a license, and my dad used to take me to my gigs and like sleep in the car and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of that was going on.
What a
And
cool dude. What a
yeah,
supportive dude.
yeah, I'm surprised he did it. I'm sorry. I know he was he probably will never admit to this, but I'm sure he was super happy when I was like, "Hey, can I just have the car?" Versus okay, I got to get up and and then go to work and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
So, before you were 16, you were already gigging.
Not entirely, no. I mean, it was just like school stuff, and I played at a couple of churches that friends would invite me to play every so often, and that was really it. But then once I got out of high school is when I started gigging mostly, like 18,
Yeah.
19, and then
All right, let's reel back a little bit more.
Mhm.
We, did you start off with a drum pad and drumsticks? Were you
Of
like a
course.
school program?
Long story short, my parents both played music when they were growing up, so it was kind of around the house already. And my dad played drums, and he stopped playing drums when I was born, believe it or not. And and I liked it, so it became, it was like a drum set, like set up, like partially set up in the corner in the room, and I would like every so often take stuff off and like mess around and then it became a thing. And then once it became a thing, both my parents were like, "Are you sure you want to play the drums?"
You
Asking
don't
me all
want to you don't
serious,
want to
and I'm
play
just
something
like,
quieter?
"Yeah." I'm just like, "No, no." My mom loved it. My mom didn't care because she knew where I was. Didn't
Right.
have to worry about me running in the street because she heard me practicing. You know what I mean? So it was an easy yes in that way. So yeah,
So there was a drum kit in the home.
yeah, yep.
So
Sitting in
your
the
father
corner.
quit gigging, not necessarily playing.
Well, he went and got a real job. He had to take care of his
Right.
family, so he went and in that way, how they say that he stopped playing music because he was just kind of getting his footing together when he worked for New York City Transit, so he got that gig, and he kind of kept moving up in the ranks doing that, and had kids and family, and that was that, and then here comes one of them who says, "Oh, I like this instrument. Oh, I like music." And then it kind of resparked everything, and that kind of went from there.
How many siblings do you have?
Three, three,
Do
three
they
sisters.
play music?
They
3
do and
4
can.
girls. Your father had 4 girls.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So they can. My okay. I'm the third in the bunch. If you're going top to bottom, or I'm the second youngest, or whichever way
Uh-huh.
you want to look at it. My two oldest sisters, the oldest, her name is Naisha. She can dance and do visual art and stuff like that. And Then Olympia is the next one in line. She could sing and do visual art and dance. They kind of all did that. I was the music one and visual. We all kind of draw because my mom drew with us when we were kids and stuff like that. So, and then my younger sister, she's kind of like the triple threat, but she doesn't,
It's
you know,
always the youngest one because they see the the older
yeah, she
kids,
kinda has it all
and they
going
pick
on,
it
and she
all
doesn't
up.
know it, which is hilarious, but her name is Leah. She can, you know, we went to school for music, and then she switched in high school and did visual art, and she could dance and she could sing, so she kinda has it all going on, but she doesn't even, you know they didn't really stick with the arts in that way. They all respect it, love it, and admire it, but at this point, but they're all kinda doing other things now, so
In the Bronx, you guys were not in an apartment, you were in a home?
yeah.
That helps with the drum kit.
Yeah, everybody in my neighborhood knew though, 'cause, it's still loud and everything, but it was cool. It was totally cool. I didn't do it at, crazy hours, only in the summertime. The summertime, it was noisy, so you could do whatever you want in the summertime, but,
Right.
you know, regular days, you were cut off at a certain point, so yeah.
So when you started expressing interest, was your dad pretty do you think he was excited?
Yeah, I mean, he was like, "Okay." I mean, I think he kinda understood that it was happening already, because he would come home and, things would be kinda changed around in the room, and he's like, "Okay, something's happening
Everything would
over
be
here," and
lower.
then
Hi-hats
yeah.
and lower.
Actually, I sit higher than he does. He sits way on the ground. I sit like I'm a tall person. So, it's at one point when my parents did, get me my own kit. I used to set it up. I had it set up in this room, and I would come home from school and I'd be ready to practice because, like as if I didn't have enough hours in the day to do that. But I'd come home and I want to practice, and I'm like, okay, and I sit down and my stuff would be different, and I'd be like, wait a minute, it's like, and the only one I knew who would be doing that was my dad. So I'm like, you've been playing my drums? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Then I just rearrange everything and put it back together and then play.
So did he show you some rudiments, like, straight off the bat?
Yeah. I mean, he did, like, doubles, singles, basically trying to drill in my head that he was told, whatever you do with one side, you have to do with the other, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so how long before you got into the school music program? Did How old were you when you started doing this, by
Oh,
the
I
way?
was I was 9 when I started.
9.
When I say that my parents say that I did it sooner. I don't know, you know.
That's
I
3rd
I
grade? Is that 3rd grade?
that's 4th grade. Yeah, 4th
4th
grade.
grade.
Mhm. Um I funny story again. One of my sisters, my one of my older sisters, Olympia, she was in band in her junior high, which I wound up going to. And she had this audition for like a program, a music program that happened because she played saxophone in junior high school. So she had this program that she was going to, and I wind up going with her just to wait, I thought, to go to my drum lesson after she took this audition. So I'm kind of sitting in the hallway, beating up on my foot with on my sneaker, the bottom of my sole with my drumsticks, and I'm like, thinking I'm waiting for her. Meanwhile, she put my name on the list to take the audition. So
Surprise!
yeah, so I'm sitting out there, in the hallway, one of those blue, plastic chairs or whatever, and I'm like beating up on my foot, and I'm just waiting, thinking, all right, when is she gonna be done so we can get out of here? And then the conductor comes out of the room and he calls my name. His name was Mr. Silverbush. I remember
Uh-huh.
that clearly, and I'm just looking up, and I'm like, you know, I'm like,
How'd you know my
yes.
name?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. He's like, you gonna audition for drums? Mm, I'm like, why not? So I just went and did it. I had a syncopation book, and because that's what I was practicing at the time, and that's I'm still practicing that. But I took that in the room, and then he kind of opened it up randomly and said, read this. And I was like, oh, okay. here we go. I just did it, and then he wrote something on a paper and said, "I'll see you on Saturday," and I left. And then I walked out the room perplexed, and and I walked to my sister and my mom, and I'm like, what is this? And they're like, "You got in, hey!" And I'm like, okay. So now I'm in a music program on Saturdays. So that's kind of how that started. And then it's kind of went from there.
Do you think that if they would, were you the kind of kid that would have like tried tried to go for that if you weren't surprised by it? Sounds like they kind of sideswiped you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I kind of got used to auditioning after that.
Right.
But I just kind of felt like it was just another kind of like opportunity. I was surprised because I didn't even I didn't know that I could be involved in that one, but it so happened that the timing I was going into junior high the next year, so it worked out perfectly. But
Right.
through high school, I had a bunch of auditions. Some pass, some fail. You know what I mean? And that it shapes your character, that's for sure, and it kind of toughens you up a bit.
Gets
As
you ready
far
for being an adult musician.
right. Exactly that part. Yeah. So it's good. I'm happy that it happened that way. I'm not. I would still, when I think back, I'm like, man, that was totally unexpected, but it was cool. I met friends and I learned, my appreciation for music overall. I think it only helped that, different
You stayed in the
styles.
program all through junior high?
Yeah, I stayed in the program. I stayed in the program for 2 years, and I went to high school, and well, I was in high school at that point, and then I got into different programs in my high school, so that kind of changed my availability to do things. So it kind of switched, but yeah, I had fun for that. We played Carnegie Hall, as kids, and that was like a big deal. And
Have you played there since?
not in years, no,
Right.
not in recent years, no. So you
What a
know.
cool what a cool thing.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I'm super grateful for those things because I mean, a friend of mine who I actually reunited with, she and I are working on some stuff, some music that she has has and wants to get out, you know. And we were just kind of laughing about that because we went to the same high school as well, and we just regained touch. And she's like, "I have all these song ideas," and I'm like, "Okay, well, come over, let's do it." So it's just one of those things. We're just kind of getting into it, and we laugh because we think back to when we were kids, just trying to get that right there. And she's a vocalist, but she also used to play the flute, so it's kind of like it's cool. It's cool.
So you went to a music
Yeah,
focused high
I went to
school?
yeah, I went to LaGuardia Performing Arts.
See,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up here, so I
Oh, okay,
don't
okay.
know
So,
about all
the
these things.
fame school,
Yeah.
one
It's
where
it
people were dancing on tables and stuff. Well, we didn't really do that, but at least not all the time. But it was,
is
yeah,
that show based on the school you went to?
yeah. That show is
Oh,
based on
that's
this.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. The school used to be in two different sections. So it used to be performing arts and music and art. Um, and so drama and dance was in one building, and music and visual art was in another. And then they adjoined them and they put them where the building stands now, which has been standing there for quite a while, on 66th Street in Manhattan. And that's our old school.
Did you think that show was corny?
No, I loved it.
You thought it was
I
great
thought it
and
was cool. I was like, man, I thought it was so cool because I was like, is there? I didn't know there was really a place. I just
right.
thought like, wow, that would be a high school experience. Like you meet all these kids who are like doing what you want to do, and they're all doing this really cool stuff, and I want to be involved in something like that. And then come to find out, it's real.
How hard was it to does that school still exist?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
LaGuardia High
incredible.
School, Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School. I want to say.
And is it still thriving? I'm always worried about school music
It's been
programs.
going through some changes. Let's just
Right.
put it that way. It definitely has been going through some changes in recent years. Yes, it's a little different than because there's like professional performing arts high school. Then there's another high school named I want to say Tito Puente. There's a few different high schools that they have out here now that are doing similar things, or and and I'm grateful for it. But that was one of the first, I would say, that was focused like that. They have them in different parts of the country now as well too, because you have different people you meet and they're like, oh, I went to a performing arts high school. You're like, you did too. It's kind of, you kind of have an awareness about it
What an
when you say that.
awesome, like, foundational music experience you've had in your life.
Yes, it's pretty cool when you think back. It's like, wow, this is fun. So it makes me love it even more. It's like you get out there, you can look at whatever, all different expressions and be like, oh, this is cool. You can find the beauty in it because you've been exposed to enough varied or a few varied things.
What was the rest of the curriculum at the school like?
High school,
I'm
math and
just
science and
regular.
yeah, regular stuff. Everything else that you had to do. Yeah.
And how much time of your day was focused on music-oriented things, music studies?
Probably half and half. You still had to do your regular
Right,
requirements and things like that, but then you would have, the other half would be, jazz band, and you'd have to do concert band and orchestra and, whatever. What for me that was, those are the things I had to do, and then percussion class or whatever, stuff like that. So yeah,
W- what kind of were you listening to popular music at that time?
yeah, yeah, everything.
So what are you listening to? Like what is as a young person, young
A lot of
Lucy?
smooth jazz, actually.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I was telling my sister, my younger sister, who used to share a room. She hated it because I would always be like, "Oh, this sounds so good," because it was music. So I would listen to it would run the span at when I was, in jazz band. We had certain things we had to listen to because we had to play it. So I'd
Right.
be listening to Duke Ellington and Sarah Vaughan 1 minute, and then I'm listening to Sting because, and then I'm listening to, so it's kind of like bouncing around, and I'm listening to like Gerald Albright. I absolutely love this guy, right? And I recently was blessed to be able to connect with him. So, um, he's a saxophonist, killing like he sounds to me like a modern day Cannonball, if you will, Cannonball Adderley. So
No.
like he has that like this warm round tone. It's like very spot on and pretty and a lot of things. So, but I
Speaks to
adore
you.
him. I was listening to him a lot at that time and still currently. But I didn't, the Michael Jackson and the, all the regular stuff that you listen to, whatever was out in the time,
Sure.
if it was TLC or whoever, you know what I mean? I was just listening to all these whoever I could get my hands on, basically. So it was music, any music. I'm like, you know.
Did you do drum corps, any of that stuff? Like
I
drumline stuff?
I didn't. I not technically. Again, my sisters went for New York they went for a marching band, all city marching band. And I was 14 at the time. So I went for the audition not knowing that I couldn't be in it yet. And I
Right.
rehearsed and practiced with them throughout the summer, but then I got into my high school and they asked me to be in the jazz band, junior jazz band. So I was like, I'm out of here and I don't have to carry a snare drum. So so I kind of left but I had fun with it while I was there. It was fun. It was fun learning, their drills and learning how to maneuver and work in that environment. So it was good times, but I didn't stay in there quite long at all.
Right. So, what are they are they at this high school, are they preparing you essentially to go to music college, to go study music in college, or are they just nurturing people's love of music and encouraging them to do whatever? Is there
I
a
think I think that's more of it. I think they were like, if you chose to go on and to go to school for music, yeah, of course, of course, because that it's kind of like a testament to all of the things you've been doing while you were there. But if you just chose to go into the field and work, and be a working musician, that would be cool too. It was all it's kind of relative to whatever you wanted to do. Our teachers were really cool, and uh they gave us, I think, honest examples of what the possibilities are. You could become a teacher, you could become like they kind of showed us beautifully that there were beautiful attributes to each and every occupation you chose. So you could like again, you become a teacher and pass it on. You could do, part-time teaching or mentoring. You could just go and play, and that all of those things could equally affect somebody's life positively. So I think at least that's what I took from it. It was like, okay, I could do all of those things and it's cool, you know.
Right. And did you go immediately to college, or did you do some gigging and then later go to college?
No, I went to college. I
Great.
went to college because my dad was not hearing it. I wanted to, I wanted to take a year off and just figure out what I wanted to do because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I left school. It was just kind of like, you got to graduate. Boom, did that. And then it was like, all right, well, now what are you going to do? And I was like, I want to do this, but I want to do this, but I'm not sure. And I was kind of bouncing around a bit. And my dad was like,
Did you have a
no.
backup ID? Did you have like a secondary interest?
I mean, I do now. I didn't then. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, d-
Well,
I when I was younger, I had the whole aspiration. I was like, all right, well, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go to school and become a teacher.
okay.
And, that way I'm thinking, security, get a job, stable, have a family, get married, that whole bit.
Nobody told you how teachers get treated?
No, no, I didn't care about that too much. I
Right.
because I used to teach a little bit at this music school in my neighborhood, or not far from my neighborhood. So I kind of already understood that, at least with the babies, because I wanted the little people. So I was like, all
Yeah.
right, at least with the babies, it'll be either they love it or they hate it because they're really honest in that way. They're like, I don't want to play drums, or I want to play drums, and that's it. Then
Yeah.
tomorrow they might come in and it's the reverse. So I was kind of focused in that way on it, and then I started watching how the trends in the schools were going, and I was inspired by the fact that I was able to go to like a junior high school and have art programs and all of those things. But then they started changing everything in the city. So it was like they were cutting all the programs for the kids who, now the kids have nothing to do. They're running around in the streets because they don't have anywhere to put all that energy that they should have available to them, especially at younger ages. So that kind of made me disenchanted with the idea of becoming a teacher. So I didn't even pursue that anymore. And then I just started playing more, and I kind of got away from that idea altogether, and I just kind of started playing more, and I just kept performance, in the forefront, and the other thing in the background. I would every so often get invited to do different, like I call it mentoring because it was not a steady thing. Is I pop in here, play a couple shows, pop in there, do that, and then kind of just introduce them to whatever, and then kind of keep moving. So that's kind of what wound up happening, but that wasn't the plan from the beginning. No. Yeah.
What was the major difference between your high school music study and your college music study?
Um. Hmm.
I imagine it was probably a little more intensive.
Yeah, yeah, very much. That was you got that on you hit that on the
Did
on
that
on the
did
head.
that
Yeah.
catch you off guard, or were you ready for it?
Yeah, no, that always I don't think you could be super intense in high school and it's still going to be a different thing because a little bit of the way that different people approach teaching, I it it's different in college. In college, a lot of it lies on you. In high school, you still kinda have that parental figure kinda over you, like, "Hey, hey, did you do this or that?" And in high school, if you don't do it, you just fail. Like,
Right.
what I mean? In college, if you didn't do your work,
Sorry,
Nobody's gonna come
Charlie.
and make sure you did your work. They're gonna say, you didn't do that, and the paper was due yesterday. Yeah, F." And that's it. You know what I mean? Or you can try to
Don't
make it
worry,
up.
we still cashed your check.
Right, right, right.
Doesn't
Right, right. But your money is due by the end of the month, okay? Just make sure you know that. And that's it, that's pretty much it. So
Did you train in to college, or was there a dorm there where you
no, no,
were
no, I
full
trained
time?
in. I
Yeah.
was home and I got on the train and my symbols on my back and looking like a turtle.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Did you get any resistance early on, uh picking up the drums and not the flute like your sister?
Well, my sister played the sax, my friend played the flute,
Oh,
but
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but I
sorry.
I did I did. I mean, when I was in junior high, I remember going to the music program and cuz we were introduced to different arts in my junior high school as well. So, I went to Dr. Daniel Hill Williams Junior High MS 180, that's what they used to call it. And we were introduced to different things. So, one point we would have art, and I was really into that because I had a really cool teacher, and we were building stuff, and he kept trying to tell my mom like she should maybe think about doing architecture, and I was like, because I was into building stuff, so I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
this will work. But I loved music, music trumped it. So it's like, I would do that if I didn't do this, if I didn't want to go do this, and then I kind of just kept with the music. But I had a awesome music teacher named Mr. Wilder, who he just holds a very special place in my heart. And we went into the music room and we're all sitting there, and he's like, "All right, write your name on the list, and I'm gonna read your name off, and you're gonna tell me what instrument you would like to play." And at that point, I had been playing the drums for at least a year already, or at least a little under a year. So I was already like, I know what I'm putting on the page. And he read my name off, and again, my sister, she told him, "Oh, my sister plays the drums." I didn't know that, so I'm sitting there. He reads my name,
your
then he
sister
reads.
has a great sense of humor, I
Yeah,
think.
she just throws me in stuff. She's like, "You could do it, go," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever," because she knows if I can't do it, I'll at least try, and if I can't, then I'm like, "All right, well, can't do it," you know.
Right.
So he read my name, and then he was like, "Wait a minute, you're the drummer." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I'm like, I'm in. I know I'm gonna get to play the drums. I'm happy. I don't have to play something else.
Right.
After everyone gets picked, and I'm still because it's like alphabetical order, and my name is Luciana, so I'm at the end of the spectrum. So I'm like, okay, So he's like, "Oh, so you already play the drums?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, well, I want you to do a demonstration," and I'm like, "Oh snap." So, and then of course you have the naysayers. "Oh, girls don't play the drums." And I'm
Right.
like, "Oh, yes, they do." So now I'm like, okay, now I got to represent for the girls. So all the girls are all happy. They're like, "Yeah, take the drum out, set it up, snare drum, play
Mhm.
a long roll, play a single roll, play." I forgot what else he told me to play, like maybe like eighth notes or something, not
Right.
too intense.
But
And
specific.
yeah, yeah, specific, but not too intense. And it was cool. And everybody was just kind of like, "Oh, girls do play the drums." And
But
that
going
was
into the program, you already had that foundational knowledge
right,
because just
because I had
from
just picked it up.
playing at home.
Yeah, playing to the
And
radio.
did you,
Playing to-
but when he said whatever the specific ask was, like play eighth notes, you knew what eighth notes was, what they were because your dad kind
yeah,
of.
because I knew what eighth notes were because I had started taking drum lessons
Oh, right. Yeah,
uh
yeah, yeah.
a little bit before that, a little before I went to junior high. So I remember I had a great drum teacher, a personal drum instructor named Andy Ledoux. Love it. Another one dear to my heart. And he taught at this music school that I wound up teaching after he had left, called Palumba Music. Unfortunately, is no longer there due to the pandemic.
Right.
But he taught there, and I remember coming in for that lesson, and I didn't say anything but hi. It was like he's like, "So you're Luciana?" I'm like, "Hi." He's like, "So you want to play the drums?" I'm like, "Yep." And that was all that was said, and he's like, all right, come on, we go into the room. He has a drum set set up there. He's like, oh, how do you set it up? Are you comfortable? All of those things. And I sit down and we start playing. And by the time I went into high school was the year, so I was with him for at least 4 years. Just a little longer than 4 years. So all through junior high, basically. And then I remember getting into the high school, LaGuardia. And by that time, it was just like I'd come in and it was a half an hour, 30-minute lesson, and we'd talk for about 20 of those 30 minutes by the time I was going into high school. And then we'd be like, wait a minute, we should probably play some drums, because I'm telling them, oh yeah, I was learning this and I'm learning that and I did this and I brought this music, and it was always like something going on at that point musically. So it was always something new. I gotta learn this piece. I don't know. I'm gonna take this audition. I don't, all that kind of thing. And it was totally different from the hi and the yes.
Right.
So it's funny how that goes. That I think those are the reasons why, though, having those great teachers were the reasons why I considered being a teacher, because it was, having those
You're s-
memories and still feeling the warm fuzzy feelings I feel when I think about how they influenced and inspired me to kind of just keep going.
you're still teaching?
I do it on occasion. I
Yeah.
haven't done it in a while. The pandemic changed everything for me, and it kind of changed my focus too. But I've been trying to do more composition, writing a lot more, just making tracks and writing and stuff like that. Because we were home for so long, and that was something I wanted to do that I just kept shying away from for whatever reason. So when you
In
have
your
nowhere to go.
in your music studies, you studied uh harmony and chord composition and everything as well as rhythmic.
I did, but I wasn't very sharp at it at that time. No, I didn't focus on it. I was more focused on playing and more focused on the physical aspects of playing drums. And I mean, I had a love for it, but I just didn't that wasn't my focal point. I wasn't totally, into the keyboard or anything. I respect it far more now, cuz now I'm like sitting up here like, okay, wait a minute. Now I got to pull from that information, and I'm like, okay, what do I remember this correctly? Is this wrong? And I have to look up stuff and, do all that kind of thing. Um but playing for me and hearing a lot of things, through the playing scenarios have helped me get my ideas out a lot clearer. It kind of comes from a natural place versus it being very uh virtuosic and not personal. So if that, I guess I can say it like that.
I see you have a couple guitars behind you. Do you write on the guitar or you primarily
Yeah.
write on the keys?
No, no, no. Lately, guitar has been my thing. Lately, it's still a pain in the butt because my hands, I'd be like, trying to do certain chords, and it's like, nah, it's not really working for you. But it's a beautiful instrument. I fell in love with it, and I've been messing around with it now for a couple of years. And lately, that's been a point of departure for me. Like I'll figure something out. I'll get an idea out, and then I'll come to the keys and play, the chords out or whatever, and then I'll keep adding.
How
You
would
know.
you describe the music that you are writing now?
Um, it's a little bit of everything. It's honest. It's a
Uh-huh.
little bit of everything. It's inspired by different things. I mean, it may be a personal matter. It may be something like that we're all witnessing or experiencing. It may be something I see and I'm like, whoa, it touches me, and I go home and a whole song will come to me. That very rarely happens, but it did happen a few times. So it's I'm hoping that the stuff that I'm writing, when I'm able to put it out, and that will be soon. Um, I'm hoping that it will be uplifting, because that's really what I think we need at this point. Like, there's so much going on and the state of the world is crazy. And I'm just like, man, we got to put something else out there, to kind of balance out all the mayhem. So that's really what I'm hoping. I mean, even if it's like harsh truth, but honest, and not like finger
If you
pointing more like,
if you
listen,
only pay attention to social media, there's not a lot of good news out there,
yeah, I know, I know, I know, or
you
the
know?
news for that matter. You know,
Right.
I put it on to check up what's going on, and then I turn it off because it does affect how you feel. It does affect how you interact. It does affect all of those things, and you can't pull from a hopeful place if you're always bombarded with the negative. You know
Right.
what I mean? So you got to like kind of say, okay, you got to be, all right, this is really what's happening. Accept that. Boom. And then say, okay, well, what can I do that will change a bit of that? That could make something else come out of it.
Every bit of stimuli that touches you in any way is affects you deeply, way more deeply than you realize, I believe. And I always think about, I don't know if you know that song, Good Thoughts, Bad Thoughts, but it's less of a song and more of a jam or whatever by Funkadelic. And it's
Yeah.
just like that narrative. And I listen to that thing. I'll put it on repeat and just listen to it over and over like a mantra or something
Right.
once every couple 2 or 3 months, just
Gotcha.
because. And it made me realize you have to be careful what you think.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to be
Thoughts
careful
are
what you think,
powerful. They're huge.
because
Thoughts
half of
are
what you think
super powerful.
is a bunch of bull.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, but I I've learned in the last few years that as much as we think we have under control,
Huh,
we don't.
huh, huh,
So,
huh.
um coming from that standpoint and recognizing that all you can really do in this, or at least one of the things that you can do in this life, is to try to be kind, which is challenging for a lot of people often because there's so many people who are hurt by different things that they don't understand that concept. But trying to be kind and trying to recognize that we are all here trying to have a similar experience. You want to be able to sustain yourself. You want to be happy. You want to have loved ones and peace of mind. You want to have, just different things that really are heartwarming and progressive in the positive coming your way. So you should try and give that out. And if and when you do that, you'll probably get a better. From it.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's, I mean,
At
that's
what
what I.
point in this pandemic did you realize that you had to sort of shift the way your approach? Because we all thought it was going to be over pretty quick, right? Oh,
Well, we
hey,
hoped.
everyone's going to be inside for a
We
couple
definitely
weeks.
hoped. I mean, where I'm sitting now is my little happy place, I call it. This is where I've been pretty much in the beginnings of the pandemic. I have like drums in a room over there. That's where I recorded the the drums, and I'm just, this is where I came. I would come, get up, wake up, have my little coffee, do my thing, look at the news, be like, oh my gosh, okay, what next? Come in here. And hours would go by,
Right.
and then I was just like, oh, it's dark outside. Okay, and I mean, I was asking myself different questions prior to this happening because, life will do that
Sure.
to you as well. And I kept saying to myself, we as musicians can get so used to I'm getting Texas. I have to play a Christmas cantata at the church I play at later. So they keep
Today.
everyone's, yeah, tonight. So everyone's buzzing in. But um you know, we thought it was going to be quick, and I was like, okay, well, life was taking me on a different journey anyway. Just personally, because like I told you before, I thought I'd be married, have some babies, be in mom mode, and that didn't really happen. So that changed my outlook a bit. And then I was like, okay, well, what else? I started to have the thought, what else do you want to do? And what else do you want to say musically? And that kind of brought me to this point, to writing more and sitting down. And then this happened almost like uh, almost before the pandemic happened. So it was like, okay, well, I definitely want to do more writing because I've been sitting on songs I've written and I had in a notebook, off to the side somewhere. And I got so used to just playing gigs and I was just perform. Just, oh, can you do this gig? Okay, where is it? Who is it for? What's the music? Blah blah blah. And that was my routine. And then I just kind of said, okay, well, hmm, it's fulfilling in one way because performance is definitely fulfilling when you have a welcoming and open audience and they've come to see and experience what your offering is, and uh so that's always fulfilling. But it became to be a hamster on a wheel kind of mentality in a way when you're just kind of working locally, which I had been doing mostly, just running around, get in the car, zip here, play this gig, okay, go home, zip there the next day, kind of that was a routine. And then I said, okay, well, it's good, it pays my bills, I'm thankful, but is it rewarding in a different kind of way? Because I feel like every time you play your instrument and uh you're in any musical situation or any performance situation, you're giving of yourself in a very exposing way and in an honest way, and you have to make sure that you're doing that so that it's healing for you as well.
So you
Yeah,
mean it.
this is so it's a lot of that going on. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm thinking about all of these things, and then the pandemic happens and kind of forces all the gigs to stop, and then I'm just standing still, and I'm just like, okay, well, now have no other choice but to be honest with myself and figure out what's next because I didn't really have students that I could, fall back on in that way. So I had to rethink that, and then I said, okay, well, how does that make me feel? Do I feel good or bad about that? And then it's like, okay, well, that's one thing. And then it was like, okay, well, you could do certain things online because I have my setup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I started doing a little bit of things here and there online, and then that opened the door for me to recognize that I could do things a different way. And so I started, focusing on when I'm not running around now, focusing on recording and just kind of getting my ideas out. And sometimes life has a funny way of pushing things out of the way for you to kind of get a clearer view on.
All still very music focused though.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to
yeah,
touch on something that you said a couple minutes ago, and you said, you spend a lot of time running across town from gig to gig.
right,
I know, a lot of musicians in New York play multiple gigs a night even,
yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
And you said, and I'm able to pay my bills. It's always a little bit of a sore spot, and it's great. And I think as musicians we're all sort of taught from an early age, well, if you can pay your bills as a musician, then you're a success.
Right.
And I think to myself, what other profession does someone have to work a double shift
Right,
and 6 nights a week or 7 nights a week,
right.
and they are successful if they can if they can keep the lights on? No other profession. I think
Right,
only the arts, like
right.
musicians, visual
Dancers have it
artists.
even depending on what kind of performing arts you do. You could have it even worse. Like I would not want to be an actor. I'll tell you that from
Right.
stories I've heard. Like we think we have it bad, but I mean,
They don't have to
y-
pack gear around though. That's pretty sweet.
right, right, right. True, true. Unless they need the wardrobe, but other than that, other
Right.
than that, they could pretty much get away with that. But yeah, like it's different. I mean,
Do you think, I mean, have you've toured in Europe?
yes.
It seems fundamentally not entirely different, but it seems somewhat different, the musician's experience there. There are
Um, yes and no. I mean, I feel as though I feel as though the respect that they have for the arts is a little different there than here. And I don't know if that's because they've well, I mean, I should probably say it is because they've placed it in whatever in a higher grade of importance, but I don't know. I mean, I think when you go to, in university in Europe and elsewhere, they've they've come to an understanding that this is something that you're going to perfect and is going to be a huge part of your life. So they respect it in a certain way. Whereas in the Americas, you can come and go to college, university for a particular field and then get out of there, have trouble finding a job, and then you go completely left into something else,
How many
And
people do you know that have gone to law school and now, you know,
right, right. I
I
mean, and
talked to a friend of
sometimes
mine who practiced law for years, and he's like, I sell HVAC stuff now, and it's way better.
right. But see, but I mean, part of that I think has to do with what is imposed on us as far as again what success is
Right.
and what that means because everyone has a different reason for doing things. Some people do things like become lawyers and doctors because their parents kind of instilled that's what you should do to be a success, not necessarily because they were like the kid who wanted the stethoscope when they were a baby, you know what I mean? So a lot of that has a play and that goes across the board. I think that's just human nature. There's plenty of people abroad who I'm sure have a parent who was like, you're going to be an architect, and they
Right.
went and became an architect, and they're like,
Family pressure.
yeah, I mean that's one aspect of things,
I
but
like where we're kind of
and
headed
that
with
plays
this
a part, for sure.
because to be a musician and to be focused on music,
Mm.
you we've already sort of we've already talked about it's not financially fulfilling all the time.
Not all the
It's
time,
like
sometimes,
you're not socking it away. You're not socking it away.
right.
Um, sometimes, sure, it's a feast or famine profession,
Yes, very much so.
even for or like almost at every tier,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, how do you keep yourself motivated personally? How do you? Because we all find fulfillment,
In different ways.
and
Well, long
fulfillment
as
is
long as my
success,
lights are on, I mean, long as my gear can be powered up, I think I'm pretty fulfilled. Um, and my view of things have changed a bit. I've learned that as important as it is to be busy doing things is as equally as important as to take care of myself. So if I found that I'm doing something or I'm playing a gig and it's just really wearing me out and it's not really changing my circumstance, is not like heavily, you know, giving me the cushion monetarily that I would want, I might have to cut it just to have enough time to breathe, just enough time to not feel like I'm going stir crazy running from here to there, they're everywhere. It's really I kind of like, life in the last few years have definitely changed things for me as far as that goes. And then just, doing more of what I love and trying to give that out. I'm like super on the tip of like sharing the love and joy that I have from creating music, period. Playing drums, playing any other instrument, helping friends with, tracks, doing any and all of it. Um that's become super high on my list of important things. And everything else that kind of doesn't fall in line with that, it doesn't matter too much, you know? Um,
oh, you're cutting out a little bit. There we are.
okay.
You mentioned your gig tonight is with the church group that you play with.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
grow up playing in church?
Not really, no. I started playing in church when I was probably like 14, and I kind of bounced around, different churches. If anybody would say, "Hey, Lucy, we need a drummer," and I just go over there, play for a couple Sundays or play for a month or two, and then bounce over here and play, kind of just wherever they needed music, wherever there was music, if I could do it, I did it. So that was kind of how the church scene was for me personally. But
Right.
yeah.
How how does that factor into your just your personal life, the like the church experience. Do you
I'm
have
gonna let
a
you finish that statement, then I'll figure out what I.
oh uh is that something like if you weren't playing, would you be in a church on Sunday?
Maybe
Yeah,
it's varied at times.
sure.
There's been times where there was one time at one point I was just going to church just to go to church because you know you have your feelings and experiences that kind of mold and shape how you feel about different things, and looking for answers and questions I have would lead me there. So there was a point I wasn't playing in the church and I was just going to go. I just go sit in the back and have my conversation with God, so to speak.
Sure.
So
Was it a
but
church
n-
you had played at before or just one that you happened
no,
into?
it was one that I just ran into. I ran into a new friend at that point, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come to my church?" And I was like, "Okay," and I just went, and I was
Yeah.
like, he's the only one who knew I played drums, so I was just kind of sitting in the back, like, "Oh, new church member, hi."
Otherwise they'd have called you up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Come on
Like,
up
nah,
here.
I'm okay. I'll be back there, just minding my business. But it was cool. It was cool for that reason. I feel like sometimes you need that too. That's to me the human experience. Whatever you need to get your spirit and everything in alignment and to kind of like stay on the positive. Sometimes you need to do that too, because like it's the same for the church that I'm playing in. I'm playing in Canaan Baptist Church in Harlem now, and the bassist who plays there just called me up, "Hey, Lucy," same kind of thing. We need a drummer. Can you come play for this church? I'm like, all right, cool. And then just kind of get in where you fit and get in there and see what's going on and see how things move and
What is
learn
the music?
songs.
What is the music that you perform?
For church services.
Yeah,
Well, right now it's gonna be Christmas music.
right.
We're in the season. But it's just gospel tunes. It's like I don't. It's gospel tunes, a bunch of different varied. For whatever week they'll pick a song, or if they know the choir knows a song or something, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna play this tune." They'll send us a message. Okay, learn this song or whatever, and then we kind of go in there and hash it out.
Do you have a rehearsal before service, or is it just throw and go and you've got a chart?
Sometimes it's rehearsal, sometimes it's listen to the tune and come in and play the tune. So
Right.
it depends. It depends. It's not always the same. Some days sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's like you hear
You don't want to
all right,
mess
here
up in
we
the
go.
house of God.
Yeah, I mean, no, but it's what's funny. I feel like the honesty of it is the thing that always comes through. So if you're coming from an honest place, and if you're just there like, again to uplift people and to uplift yourself too, you're part of that as well. Um, it comes through. No matter if it's exactly every hit like the record, or if it's just your rendition of it. If you're coming through with that same kind of energy and that same kind of openness, it comes through, and it's like, all right, this is cool. Everybody leaves feeling better than they came, and you feel good, and you just go ahead on and have the rest of your day and do what you're doing.
What's
So
the
it's nice.
difference in the energy you get back from the the people in church as opposed to people at a club gig? Is it
To
is it
me,
different?
not that much. I
No.
mean, one might have a little bit more excitable folks, but that's not necessarily true too, because I mean, uh the I don't think it's that different, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, Alcohol plays a part in how
Sure.
people express themselves.
They
You know what
call
I'm
them
saying?
spirits.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a different kind of thing. But other than that, I don't really think there's much of a difference, because people are people.
Sure.
People coming if they're coming to a concert, they want to have an experience. If they're coming to church, they want to have an experience.
Yeah.
It's the honest offering, I think, that ties it all together.
So we talked about Alex.
Yeah.
Um, are you a metal fan? Is there metal
Some,
that
not
you're
all.
into?
Some, not all. Yeah. Some. I mean, I'm a music fan, so it's like if I hear a tune that sounds killing, I like it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is. If I'm like, woo, some stuff I'm like, I can't believe they played that kind of thing. Eh, But it's music. If it's music, if it's good music, it's good music.
Who's your favorite drummer? Do you have a favorite
Ooh,
drummer?
I don't have a favorite drummer. I have favorite drummers, and that
Let's have
list
them. Come on, lay it
is
on me.
long.
Give me three.
Ugh. Okay, what style?
Just across the board,
Oh
the
Jesus.
drummers who have most influenced you.
Different times is different people. Um uh okay, Dave Weckl,
Oh yeah.
Vinnie Caliuta,
Yes.
Sonny Emery, Lewis Nash, Omar Hakeem, Buddy Rich, Philly Joe Jones. Like we can. It doesn't matter. We could go. We could go anywhere. Stewart, I mean, there's so many drummers. It's a lot of drummers. There's a lot of them. And there's folks out here now who are killing it. Who are like, I'm sitting there going, woo. I got to get some lessons or something. So there's
I saw
it's
Vinny play just a few years ago. If I guess it's probably been 4 years now.
Jojo Mayer. Like, I mean, I'm now you got me drum thinking. Like, I'm like, who else?
Is there a drummer that you hear in your own playing when you listen back where you recognize their influence on you more than any other?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know. I would say all of them. I hear in the jazz idiom. I would say Louis Nash. I adore him, and I remember meeting him and like kind of running around after him through the city, trying to get lessons and trying to like learn what I could because he's
Yeah.
clean. And at that point, I was in high school and I was playing jazz a lot, so that was one of the guys who I feel like when I play jazz, I kind of pull from naturally, you know. Um, but then I'm listening to like Vinny over here trying to learn all that other stuff, and then I'm listening. So it's kind of weird. I kind of Harvey Mason because I was listening to like a lot of Gerald Albright, and he was playing for him, and that pocket, and like Purdy if I was listening to Steely Dan or you know.
I thought I was going to have Bernard Purdy in a video.
Oh,
I had a phone conversation with him. I
oh,
was I was over the moon. You
that's
can't
killing.
even you can't
Yeah, yeah,
even
I can. I
imagine
can.
how
Oh, I can. I can. That's like when I met like Peter Erskine and Billy Cobham when I went to Nam, and I was like running after them like, can you take a picture with me? Like so. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
he was such a sweet guy too.
Yeah, he's cool.
He was sweet to talk to.
Definitely, definitely. Wow. So yeah, I mean, all these guys,
Yeah.
and ladies, because Sheila E., Terry Lynn Carrington, Cindy Blackman, like all these ladies. Like I in high school, I used to have this huge Cindy Blackman poster on my wall, like So yeah, like all of them, they play a major role in my love for this instrument.
I'm really happy that there are more women involved in music
Yeah, me too.
pop on a popular level and drums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um
It shows girls can
because
play the drums. you know.
guess what? They can do anything.
I mean, but it's just wild, it's really cute because even in playing in different churches, there were times where young little girls would come and say, "I've never seen a black woman play the drums before," and I'm like, "Really?" And I'm thinking, well, okay, you're probably 5, so yeah, you probably haven't seen,
Right, you've only
Sheila E.
seen cartoons, kid.
Right, right. Right, right. And you're just getting good with those. So yeah, okay. But then there's grown women who were, kind of deterred. They'll come and say, always wanted to learn how to play the drums. And they were, told that girls don't do that sort of thing. So I'm super happy both my parents were like, "You want to do it? Go right ahead." So that's I'm grateful to them for that, you know.
Yeah. We have a lot of stuff to fix. I don't know if you know that. You heard? There's a lot of stuff we got to fix.
Yeah, yeah, we're trying though. As long as we keep trying, that's a good thing. Keep aiming for it, It'll
Right.
get there. It'll get there.
What do you have planned for 2022? Do you have stuff on the books that you're excited about, or are you sort of
Playing performance wise or
all of the above?
um performance wise is really up in the air. Composition wise or putting out music wise, yes. I'm trying to figure out if it's going to be the end of the year or the beginning of next year that I put out a tune that I wrote and performed and all that. I pretty much played everything on there except for the solo on there.
Is
um
that to be determined, or is
no,
there a
no,
guess?
it's done. Uh I just have not everything is not in place yet for it to be put out on like all the platforms and all that kind
Your
of thing.
sister blow horn solo?
No, no, no. No, but I was able to solicit a saxophonist who I adore. So I'll just
Oh,
put it that way. I'll
all
leave
right.
it looming in the
All
you
right.
know. So that I was able to do. So yeah. And that song is actually about my love for music. It sounds like a love song, but well, it is a love song, but
Sure.
it's one of those that I feel like I had to put out because it's something expressing myself and kind of declaring my love for this thing, my continual love for the music
When
despite
you don't
everything.
know when you'll put this out?
I'm trying to. I've been trying to get all the particulars in order. So I mean, I've it's like I said, either it's going to be the end of this month or beginning of January.
Oh, great. I'll wait till
Yeah, so soon.
January.
Okay,
People,
got
trust
your.
me, my birthday is at the end of the month, and people don't want to deal with it.
Ah.
People are like, "What?
Gotcha.
We're not doing anything.
They're still frazzled from Christmas, huh?
Yeah, we're not doing anything between Christmas and New Year. That's like that's like the demilitarized zone. That's a national demilitarized calendar zone. Get out of here
Oh,
with that."
it's like, turn it off to resume in January 1st. I hear you.
So you say you played everything but the solo. So you played drums, you played some keys,
Play drums, keys,
guitar,
guitar, and
bass,
bass. Yeah,
and did you sing?
yeah, I did.
I love this. I love this. Awesome.
Yeah, I did it. Took a chance. I said I'm gonna do it, and I
Why
did.
not?
Yeah, I mean that's again one of those things where I was kind of like sitting on it and just kind of saying, "Well, what am I doing here? What's really, in light of everything that's going on, what am I waiting for? Let me just go ahead and do that."
Well, how often do you have a microphone in front of you on a gig where you have to do some background vocals?
I've done
Ever?
it actually this past year a little bit more than usual. Like I have like a regular like open mic gig that I've been doing for years actually at another place with this guitarist named Debbie Napper. And she always tries to get me to sing. So she's like, "Come on, you got to sing." And she would stick a mic in my face and and I'm just kind of like, but in recent years I've gotten a lot more bold and just said, "All right, screw it, I'm going to do it." Every now and again. I mean, I don't do it every gig. That's not the scene, but every now and again I'll do it. Yeah. I mean, why not?
And there was no vocal requirement at LaGuardia or in school?
There was beginning. I mean, you had to take basic vocal classes just to learn your solfege and stuff like that. But it wasn't like I wasn't doing solos and like in choir and everything. It wasn't that kind of thing. No, not for you. If you
S-
weren't a vocal major, no.
So it doesn't feel alien to have a microphone in front of you.
No, it does. Because, I mean, in jazz band, I wasn't singing anything. I mean, if you were singing like a shout chorus of a tune, it was the whole band just kind of literally singing. It wasn't like everyone with the mic, you know, and the
Right.
drumsticks and everything set up a certain way. It wasn't that kind of scene. No, it was just kind of like, that's, if you weren't a vocalist, that wasn't your thing. Unless you decided to pursue it, then it was a thing where you would do that.
It's funny, I think that vocals and drums are the two most important parts of a band.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean uh, that's funny because I was just having a
Unless it's
conversation about.
instrumental, whatever the melodic
Yeah, yeah.
focus instrument is.
I mean, yeah, because it's the heartbeat and that's the story.
Right.
Yeah. So
Do you
yeah.
agree that if your drummer sucks, your band sucks?
I say no drums, no band. I have a. I should have wore that shirt. A buddy of mine got me a shirt that says that actually. Um,
Nice.
but I mean, the drummer does have a role, a major role, in helping steer the ship. So if you guys are locked in together and if you kind of have that communication going on and that openness going on, it always makes it feel better if the drummer is killing it. Definitely.
Everyone else can be
They could be
vibey.
okay,
They can be
but
vibey,
yeah,
which is like
yeah, they have a
code
different.
for not very good, but they got a thing, right?
Yeah, they could get away with some stuff before it becomes like, hey, wait a minute, But unless you have through composed stuff, if you have through composed stuff and you miss your cue, it's like, yeah, nah, that's not happening. But for the most part, you can kind of weave in and out, of things.
I think
And
even vocalists, depending like on in certain genres, probably not in smooth jazz. You can't, I can't imagine Lou Reed doing smooth jazz. He's not really wasn't really a singer. He's a
right,
vocalist.
right, right, right,
There are a lot of people like that
right,
where uh even the front person,
right.
can be spirited,
Yeah, you can kind of you get it. I mean, that's what it's funny because I think different personality types and different instruments kind of coincide. I feel like drummers and bassists are kind of like foundative personalities oftentimes in groups. They kind
right?
of have like that's their role when you think about it in the music. It's kind of like the all state hands. They're like, we're here to support you. And if you look at different personality types and then you kind of ask, okay, well, what do you play? What do you play? Oftentimes the cooler ones, or I don't mean that in like, oh, that person's so cool. I mean that in like calm or demeanor type of personalities, like bassists and drummers. They're usually sitting back if they're in a club having a beer, just kind of like, all right, we're gonna play. Okay, cool.
Right.
And front men are usually running around, very charismatic, very interactive and such. So
Do you think that more rambunctious, like bigger personality players traditionally will express themselves musically in a bigger way, or do you think that? I mean, I know this is a blanket statement, but do you think? I imagine. I mean, look at someone like Keith Moon
okay,
is a was a maniac and also a maniac drummer,
right,
right?
right.
Who was that? Who was the guy? Was it Buddy Rich? Where there's this terrible audio recording of him just shredding his band on a
Oh yeah,
bus.
yeah, on the bus, yeah, the infamous bus tapes.
Oh man!
Yeah, but he's a bad dude. Like, I mean, it makes you wonder. It's like, okay, well, if you have a standard and you're trying to achieve that standard, and you have, you know, a big band of 18 pieces or more, you can go a few different ways about trying to get them to do what you need them to do. If you have folks with personalities who are like, man, I'm doing what I want to do. Doesn't matter if I'm in your band and your name's on the marquee. I'm still doing what I want to do. Then you got to figure out how you're going to deal with that.
You got to figure
Um,
out how to get him out of the band.
right, that too. But not when you're 30,000 miles away from home and you can't call the next cat up and say, hey man, meet me at the Apollo because you got
Sure.
you got to figure out what you're going to do to keep that to make sure that section stays that section and it
I
sounds the
went
way
to
it should.
Marine boot camp and I've never been talked to the way he talked to those players. I'm just saying.
Maybe he was in the wrong profession, you think?
He could have been a Marine Corps drill instructor.
Maybe.
He could have
I don't
been
know. But
because
yeah, I mean, I think you can get more with kindness than you can get with, shrewdness, but
Right.
everybody does it the way they do it. I know
What
if
did I
I'm a
say? What do
musician, I
I
don't
know?
want to be. I don't want to be addressed in a certain way or talked to in a certain way. So, I'm not gonna bring that out, and I'm not gonna
Why
give that
not?
out. It doesn't inspire me. It won't make me want to do anything. I'm like, oh man, I can go home now. I'll pack up my drums. I'll
As I like
see
to
y'all
say,
around.
that
You know.
doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Not at all. Not at all. No inspiration.
Have you ever packed up your drums and walked out of a situation because of conflict in that way?
No, but I've made it clear that that would happen if the situation didn't change.
And apparently it did.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I just be like, yeah, you can't talk like that to me because the music will stop now. So that's pretty much that. All I have to
No
do is
drums, no
clap.
band.
That's it. Everybody else, they'll hear that big old clack, and then they'll start seeing symbols. All right, I gotta go. I'm glad you guys had a good time. Hope you did. Sorry about the inconvenience. I'm out of here. Because there's no room for that disrespect. Like
Right.
that's not happening. We don't get paid enough. And even if we did, it's still like, come on. All you're
This
gonna
is
do is
only
feel
keeping the
like, oh, that
bathroom
was
lights
such a
on, and I
terrible
can make
gig,
my
or I
way
don't want to
around
do
there
that
in the
gig.
dark. Okay?
Right, right.
This gig, oh, camera is
Yeah.
disabled due to slow internet
Right.
connection. Video is
Oh
still
no.
it's okay, it's still recording.
Okay.
Um
Okay.
during uh whenever it was during the
Hmm.
busiest gigging time in your life, on average, how many gigs were you doing a week?
A week?
Yeah.
Let's see. Maybe like 6 or 8.
Wow. 6 to 8 gigs a week.
Yeah. It was like 2 a day sometimes. Because for me, when it rains, it pours.
Right.
So, I won't get anything, and then I'll get like 3 calls for 3 gigs on the same day.
Right.
It's like, okay, and they'll all be fundamentally different. So one will be like, okay, you're gonna go and play for this school, these little babies. I'm like, I'm always down for that because that always puts me in a good mood. So I'm like, okay, you hear their little voices. Oh, what's that? Okay, you want to check
And
this
they
out? Come
always
here.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I do, because they're cute and they are inquisitive, and I like that because that gives me hope.
Right.
It's like there's something that's still interesting about this and this thing we do, and it's still, everybody loves music no matter what style it is. Something that makes you move. It hits you a certain way. So
Do you worry that like performing on acoustic instruments will fade away, or do you accept it as something that might just happen?
I don't think it's gonna happen. I honestly do not, because I love all of the innovation and all of the newness to electronics here and there, but I just do not believe at all that there is nothing like an acoustic drum. There's nothing like the way it sonically hits your body when you hear it, and if it's mic'd and in a nice situation, it's even better. So I do not think that's realistically going to happen. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about it being exposed more. I'm worried about people actually having that experience to be able to recognize that there's something beautiful about it. That I'm more worried about than it disappearing or fading into the distance.
Do you remember the first time you were on a stage and sound checking, or whatever, you were hearing a monitor mix and you heard your kick drum come through your side wedge?
Hmm. I gotta think about that because I don't know. I mean, I've
I
done a lot more gigs in clubs and bars than huge stages, but I've had a few instances where it was like, oh, okay, we're
it's
here now.
it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
It's
It's
it's energizing. It's like invigorating, right?
Yeah, that and the crowd. Because when they're already like buzzing, so to speak, and you come out and you're like, all right, we got to do our thing, whatever, whatever it
Right.
is you're about to do. That energy is crazy too, because then it's just like, okay, I just got to give it back. It's like, and you take it and give it back. So yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to hear your first solo release. Will
Thank
you
you.
release it under your own name, or will you use
Yeah, no, I
a
don't have an alias. Yeah,
L?
I'm not that cool yet. I don't know. Maybe I'll think of one between now and then. And be like, hey, look what I came up with. But it will be under my under my name as far as I know, as far as now goes. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, well, let's. I don't want to hang up right now. Wait a minute.
Okay.
I don't know how to do this. This is a new platform for me, so I'm
Oh,
still
okay,
kind
okay.
of a dingling at this. I'm going to stop recording. Do you have
Okay.
any gigs coming up that you would like to plug? This will come out next Monday. So
Hmm.
anything for the
I
second
next
half of
Monday this will come out. I'm playing at where am I playing? Oh my gosh, now I'm like,
the
yeah, I just looked at my phone. I should have done that. But I'm playing at Smalls. I'm playing with Roberta Pickett, jazz pianist, the night before Christmas Eve. So it's the 23rd.
Uh-huh.
I want to say 7:30.
Okay.
That's the most recent thing going on. And then Christmas, I'm not doing much of nothing. I'm just gonna be relaxing, probably in my happy place where I am right now,
Uh-huh.
taking up time and doing more tracking and stuff because I have the time to do it, and just playing church for now, and then the new year comes and then everything changes again. So
Sure.
yeah, so I would say that I would say, hey, if you can tune in, I think they're streaming it. I
Oh,
believe that they're streaming it. So Smalls Jazz Club. I think we're playing trio because I think the saxophonist had to deal with family matters of some sort. But
if you
yeah,
find a link for that, if you can wrangle a link for that, would you
yeah,
email it to me?
yeah, sure, sure,
And that
sure,
way
sure.
I can pop it in the description at the top of the podcast too.
Awesome. Okay, okay, cool, cool. I'll get on that. Um, yeah, but that's the most recent thing that's going on. Other than that, just running around. I'm doing something on Saturday for some sort of Kwanzaa thing. I don't actually know what it is, so I can't really. I just I just know who it's for. I play sometimes with his bassist Stanley Banks. Bad dude. I love this cat, and I believe the band is going to be Stanley Banks and Monty Croft. Or I mean, he's a killing vibraphonist, guitarist, singer, piano player. Bad dude.
There's
It's
kind of
like these.
nothing cooler than a vibraphonist.
Yeah, yeah, he's a bad. I actually got introduced to him when I was about 19 or 20, I want to say, and there used to be this club called Decades in the city on like 63rd or 61st Street in the East Side or something, and he was doing a Stevie Wonder uh in tribute band or something like that, and man,
But on vibes?
no, 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 no,
Oh,
like
just
piano and harmonica and like
he was
killing
doing the
it.
whole
And
thing.
I didn't even know I didn't even know he played vibes at that point. I thought he was just a pianist. And then I found out later, like, oh, okay, you do that and this and that. I was like, man, I'm trying to keep up. So yeah, so I believe and I believe Marvin Horn is playing guitar on this, but that's like a Kwanzaa thing. So we might play anything from like something from George Benson to something from, I don't know, like a New Birth or some
You don't
more
even know
soul
what the
stuff.
set list is. It's a gig
No,
2 days away.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, because these cats, they just call tunes and they know tunes, and I just have to try to, you know, hold it down as best I can. But some of the stuff, if they call it and I'm like, oh, I know that, let's go, and we
Do you
just
ever have to pull up your phone and like hear the first bar of a song to remember how it goes? Is that
sometimes, yeah, sometimes, or
that's not
sometimes
off
I'll be like,
limits?
yeah, no, no, not at all, not at all, not with them.
Right.
But they're cool like that, they keep me on my toes, and it's fun because it could be sometimes they're all a little older than me, so it's they know stuff that I may have heard but don't really know, you know
Right.
or like, oh, I know that song, I remember this, okay, let's play it, and then I'm just thinking like, okay, am I playing this right? And if I don't think that I am, then I'm going home and checking it out and making sure that next time we play it, I got it. But that's a different kind of education, that you get on the bandstand that sometimes still happens in New York. It used to happen a lot more when I was younger, but
Right.
it still happens. Yeah. So.
Hey, take it easy. This guy. He did you want to say hello?
Oh,
Yeah, he did.
hello.
He wanted to say hello.
He's like, all right, I'm done. I'm good.
uh
Yeah.
I had a really great time talking with you.
Same here. Thank you for having
You're
me.
awesome.
Thank you.
And thank you again. Thank you so much for really, really delivering the goods on
Oh, thank
Hocus Pocus.
you. Thanks. I had fun. That was fun. I was like, ooh, let's see how we're gonna do this. I was so excited to hear the end result because I was like, oh, this is gonna be different. It's always different when you're not in the same room. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, let's see how this is gonna work. And it worked great. So, you know, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Most of the time works every time.
Right. Listen. Now I mean, it's just cool that we were able to do that, especially in the situation that, in the climate that we're in now. So it's like
Yeah.
that's really, really cool. So yeah.
So here's what happens. Let's see. I'm going to stop recording.